So here's my longer view of my setup and my hobby room. I thought I'd start with looking at these Alex drawers from IKEA. They're about 600 odd mil wide. Let's have a look closely, and I want to talk about the various tools and things I use and why I've got them. So starting with tools, here's my top drawer. So what I've got here is all the stuff I need to basically assemble 95% of any kit. Got all my glues, and I use several different types of glues. Oop. Upside down, Miss Jane, almost. Okay, so I've got, we're going to go through each one of these. It's going to be a long video. RC, Revell contactor. So that's a Tamiya extra thin bottle, but I put the Revell contactor in there. That's perfect for doing slow drying stuff like tracks, or if you've got a piece of plastic, two pieces of plastic you want to weld together, but you need a bit of wiggle room to play it around with, so you use that first. I've got the quick setting extra thin, which has its advantage sometimes. The normal Tamiya extra thin, and then some of their sort of really thick stuff, which I don't really use that often. I don't know why that's in there, but anyway. And then I've got, get that super glue out of the way, I've got this one marked putty. Now I use this bottle particularly. It is just normal Tamiya extra thin, but it is a bit, as you can see, it's got a bit of rubbish in it. I use that for doing things like surface texturing and so forth on armour. Now, one of the things I mentioned in the other videos, look at these Alex drawers, they only pull out that way. That's why I've got a lot of these things in little trays I can just pull out. So that's all my tapes. But if you pull out the back here, I've got all my super glues. Some of these I got off my good mate Bill Matthews. Thanks very much, Bill. That's the good Loctite stuff. So that all just sits in there out of the way. And same with the Tamiya tapes. I have this little pen which I love. It's a CD marker pen. Okay, I use that for, it's got a thick end and a thin end. I use that for marking seams that I want to get rid of. And once you've sand past it and they've disappeared, they've gone. I've got the normal Tamiya tape, and then I've got some of the stretchy tape which I use for masking curves, and some tiny tape for doing ribs and so forth. Got to learn to point that camera in the right direction. Alright, sprue cutters, sprue cutter unions. I've got two types here. I've got my SMS nippers. They're okay. They're a good utility sort of one. Let's get that out of the way. And then I only just recently bought these. These are the Disby, the single blade jobbies. See if I can open this with one hand. I've only used this once so far. Very, very fine. Very nice. Nice cutting. Good sprue cutters are hard to find. And then the other sort of cutters are the Zurons. They're the only Zurons I think are worth buying. These are the shear cutters there. You'll be real careful with that. That's for photo etch. Okay, that's definitely recommended if you're going to do any sort of photo etch and you don't want to spend any time cleaning up. We get to knives. I like my modelling knife in a Fisker, because when you put that on the bench, okay, it can't roll out of the way and stab you. I then use the SMS scraping tool for getting rid of seams. That's really handy. In here I've got my main tweezers that I use all the time. The Tamiya ones are the best. The little photo etch, they actually use for photo etch bending, these fellas, but I find them for the nice fine stuff. I use they're expensive, but they're heavy duty. What's the number on that one? The 146. Okay, that's my favorite go-to tweezers. And I also sometimes use these Manwa little flat ones. In here I've got all my pin vices. Okay. Moving on, got sanding sticks. So these are the Infinity, different grades, up to polishing. And then I've got the tiny little handheld ones. The little, what do you call? They're floory ones, I think. Those little small ones with go-to file, and I do have a few other files in there that I occasionally use. Moving over here, the putties. We've got Tamiya White, Tamiya Grey Basic, but most of the time I use this stuff. And that's the Bondo glazing and spot putty. Okay, and I've got a few putty tools in here, including, if I can get it out, this is Uncle Nightshift's one for using welding made out of a Coke can, using epoxy. That probably should be in another drawer actually. Moving on, excuse my chair, I've got the basic rescribing, so that's just the pin awl thing for doing rivets for when you lose them. But in here I've got other ones. There's another sharper one. I've got the trumpeter scribing tool, the Tamiya scribing tool, and some scribing tape. Okay, so you almost always have to use that in every kit to have it ready to go. Got these little steel pallets here that I use to put out super glue, and my favourite method of filling nasty seams. If I can get the blast thing out. This is the thing I don't like, the Alex drawers, can't get it all out, but anyway. Get out, you bugger. Okay. I've got this trick from my good mate Sean at Prime Model Works. He uses a dark steel pigment. It works really well. It does clog up your sanding stick, but it does the job. And I've just got a few tools here I use to apply the super glue. See if I can get this one out. Okay. Just a little thing. Gee, that needs a good clean, doesn't it? And then finally over here, some saws. So I've got a JLC, I think they're called. Whoop. Come on, get out. It's hard to do with one hand. Okay, that needs a replacement, that one. So that's the saw, and I use this one as well. So this is basically for getting resin pieces off, or for very, very fine pieces on the sprues. A couple of clamps, some of these pressure clamps that I really love. And that's it for the top drawer. Shall we keep going? Is this getting too boring? But hey, you wanted to see it. Next drawer, we might go a bit faster with this one. Alright, so secondary stuff that I need. We've got all the templates, okay, for scribing and cutting. I've got all my Rosie the Riveters here. Well, that's where that lives, there you go. So that's supposed to go in there. Rosie the Riveters and all the riveting tools. I've also got an old airbrush needle that I use for the finer stuff, for getting out the rivets. Drills, these carbide drills are really handy, really easy to get off the internet. Some minor 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. I've got some more cutting tools over here. I have this scriber here with the green tape on it. This is the same one as in the other drawer, but that's for doing some heavy work, so I can really get into that blade. And then I've got these really good Tamiya chisels, Hasegawa chisels, and a few more knives, a few more different blades. Over here I've got invested in some good tools. That's, instead of more kits, RP Tools got their punch and die set for making nice little pieces of plastic for scratch building. I recently just got this locally. That's for forming circles with your photo etch. And I've got a really nice photo etch folder in here. You can open up, there it is. Again, RP Tools, nice long one. Plus I've got another heavy duty big one back here as well. And then underneath there is a big glass cutting mat that I use for the heavy stuff. And then I've got a rolling set for doing the, as you can see, the rolling ones. You want to form more advanced stuff. So that's a fun drawer to play with. And this one, all my tweezers. If I can get them out. Oh, I might need to reorganise that. I can't get all the blasted things out. Okay, so all my tweezers. Got your locking tweezers, stuff for rigging, stuff for finer work. These rigging ones are really good, particularly when you're doing wires and so forth. So that's that there. Let's move on to the next drawer. So as we go on, the drawers should get less and less use, and this is my least favourite part of the hobby, sanding. So that's the rest of my Infini and some more Flories. I've got some of these, what are they called? The micro mesh. I sometimes use them, but not all the time. And some other sheets and polishes. And there's the pads you can get from Infini. They're really, really good. I'm slowly using them. Let's see if I can find one with a cut off here. There it is. So you just chop off a piece and use it. I'm using that to fill the rivets on my A6 Intruder. Some Clever Putty. That's some really good stuff. That for masking, just generally. Some epoxy putty, the two-part putty. And I've got this system in there. I'll pull that all out to explain it. But when you want to roll really, really, really fine putty, have two sheets of plastic, nice 2mm plastic there like that. Wet it slightly, roll it, and you can get some really, you roll them together on the surface. You're making some nice long sausages. That's how you do weld effects. And also you can use it to make a very flat epoxy for things like canvases and so forth. The Little Airy Drawer, as I call it, putty, putty, putty. So just a lot of putty. I haven't used this stuff yet, the Mr. Hobby. It's supposed to be pretty good. And some sculpting tools for said putty. Some handy slip paste, which I'm hoping to use on an F14 soon. Moving on, gets a bit easier from here on in, I think. Okay. Ooh, and there's a big shower outside, that's what you can hear. So that's my Dremel tool or Proxon tool stuff. I've got more of my polishing things here, polishing pads and so forth. And then I've got some more specialised tools in here, got some punches and some different scribers. All my more advanced masking stuff, so the masking fluids, the micro mask, or the Sol Neo. I really like this Sol Neo stuff, especially applied with a sponge. And then this is my supply of more Tamiya. More tools, little vise. This is a great little hold'em sort of thing for figures or anything else. Some 321 cubes, which I've yet to use, but I do intend using very shortly. Okay, big blocks. Lots of pegs, always handy. I've got tapes galore underneath there, you can see double-sided tape, gaffer tape, large tape. Oh, one of my favourite tools for masking. The Infinity lines there, so you can make whatever size lines you want for masking. Very handy. Get back in there, mate. And then all my decal stuff. It's all in here, so all the different types of decal solutions and adhesives and so forth. Alright. Almost there. Now, these are the fluids that don't fit anywhere else. What have I not used so far? Well, I've got the old IPA, need that for everything. Plastic primer, that's all Tamiya extra thin, so I'm not going to run out anytime soon. And I've got a few other extra, some retarder that I use for acrylic painting, and some the Gunze, Mr. Cement. What else do we have in here? And we've got some ultra glue. That's not a bad glue for doing photo etch stuff when you want a little bit more time to play around, and some of the other micro mark sort of things like micro tape and so forth. I've got a lot of water, as you can see, water products here that I've yet to use. I really want to do some water displays soon, and good old PVA and a few other little things. And then the last one is just my electricals, glue sticks, the old Dremel that I actually got that from my late dad. So I've still got that, it's probably about 20 or 30 years old. And then here, if I can open the box, I might need to cut this bit out just as I try to open this blasted thing. Got this on a suggestion from Harry. So that's the new neat and handy, handheld airbrush with the compressor. So that's a compressor there if it works. I can hear it. Okay, I'm going to teach my kids how to use an airbrush, but also that might be handy just for some little work to do on the side. Down there I've got a big jig that I haven't set up yet, and a nice cutting tool. So that's the tool drawers. Let's stop there for a second and move to the next one. Alright, so beneath my paint booth there, with my lucky touch and bow sticker. That's not Tamiya, it's touch and bow. Go Google that if you want to know what that means in Japanese. This one is the drawer that I sort of pull out of the way and get out of the way pretty soon. I don't use it that often, but all this stuff needs a place. So I've got all the masks here. I can probably arrange this a little bit better. Masks, old instruction sheets that I want to keep for, competition use, whatever. Unallocated aftermarket, so stuff that, like I've got these quinted decals that I'm really itching to use. I've just picked up the storch for that, stencils and other parts. I mean, this stuff should be in their boxes, but in the kit boxes, but I haven't gotten around to doing it, so they're just going to stay in there. They're all in one spot. This is the drawer I said that needs organising, and yeah, bloody oath it does. So what I was lucky to do one day is I was on eBay and someone was selling all this evergreen, and I picked up about 70 packets for about $70, so $1 a packet. Normally they're, well, I think they're closer to $9 a packet now here in Australia. So it's all in there. I've got to rearrange it by type. And then I've got all my acrylic clear rod for putting planes up in the air, up their bums, which is always fun. Always like the bum stuff. Hint, hint. And then all the brass, and I use carbon fibre rods as well. So that all goes in there. But like I said, come on, get in there, you bastard. Needs rearranging. Sheet styrene, so you can see a lot of the stuff I've got prepped for a project I'm really excited to start in the new year. That's my deliberate practice series. Yeah, stay tuned on that one. So that's all what do I call it? Scribed, it's riveted practice plastic. I've got other stuff in here. I've got clear black plastic, I've got MDF, I've got all sorts of stuff in there for building bases, for adding styrene. And here's all diorama supplies that I don't use often, but you need it all just in case. You need a little bit of everything, some paste, some different foliage and ground cutter. I've got a box full of pebbles and rocks just to add a few things and so forth. So that's all there in one fell swoop. And then some scratch building stuff. So here I've got Over here I've got lead weights for nose down, but I don't know what I use them for often. I still have to use lead weights sometimes for floats and things. I've got all the rods and tubes and wires, extra rivets and bolts and so forth, and a few ladies' clothing and resin which I haven't used yet. What do we got here? Other toggle switches and so forth, and other pieces. All my magnets, I use magnets sometimes. Big box of wires, it's always handy to have them. This midge tubing stuff's fantastic for doing connectors within wires, and full sets of lead wire as well. This stuff is really good quality from Plus Model. And then fuse wires as well works well. And rigging, so Easy Line, the MIG stuff. I think I've also got some Yushi or model cast and rigging for ships and for, it's my leftover, so turnbuckles, World War I stuff. And yeah, some more braided lines and things that I want to use for my CH-53 build. Last drawer, just some basics, just some, you know, overflow of stuff. Gloves, always use gloves, that's why I've got it here underneath my paint booth. Now I did say with my task lamp over my workbench there, and I've also got a big daylight LED there to do the whole bench, that I can just swing that over to my new paint booth here. But I've found a better solution, and I'm just slipping this little video in. I've filmed everything, but I'll just slip this one in as well. This is a softbox light. Yeah, normally that's installed on a tripod. See the tripod fitting up there? And I did buy a couple of these to put over my bench, and I may still install the other one, but this one, just by luck, happens to fit, just sits there on top of the paint booth perfectly. So I've done a few tests, and yeah, I'm getting a great amount of light in there, as you can see, and it's going to be really good for videoing. So I've got the clamp here, so I should be able to get the camera on there, and yeah, I'm hoping to really improve my videos on the airbrushing side, so stay tuned. I might paint the inside walls of there, the plywood there, a bit of white colour, or put some reflective tape down there to make it even brighter, but so far that's looking really well. That's just a black background I'm using. So yeah, that's been a good surprise. Alright, segue over, keep going and have a look at what I'm talking about around the rest of the workshop. Alright, the last drawer I want to show you is my paints, and this is where all the magic happens and where I want to do a lot more in 2022. So I've pulled this out, I'm actually put it right in front of the paint booth here just so I've got some good light so you can see what's in here. So this is the paint drawer sets, and this is everything I need to do on this side airbrushing, and on this side, not allowed to call it hairy brush, but you know, hand brushing stuff. So I'll just quickly go through what I've got here. These 3 buckets here, I've got my little tattoo ink cups for doing mixing. I've got cotton wool tips, Q-tips, whatever you want to call them, depending on where you live, and then this one is actually pipettes. So that's what I use to mix. So if you've seen my mixing video and stuff, I use that. That's how I get it all down. I've got a few more mixing cups in there if I need them for bigger jobs. Okay, and then in these 2 trays are all my cleaning and spares. So I've got a spare one there, but it's basically cleaning. I use some old brushes to clean out the paint things, and I use the dental, or the pixters, whatever you call them, for cleaning in between teeth, but it's also perfect for cleaning inside your airbrush. Okay, then I've got some stencils, just the basic sort of set, you know, modelling and doing streaks, and these ones are the most sort of favourite ones at the moment, these sort of, yeah, stencils. Okay, and then let's just move those palettes out of the way. So here's all my brushes. All of these ones I use for oil paint rendering, that's why they're laid out this way, except for this big bugger, which is just the cleaning one. So that's my oil paint, how I get the oil paint on with these small brushes, and then different blending and scuffing in on these bigger brushes. There is a system there, trust me. I've got for serious painting, I've got my Winsor Newtons and all different grades here. Blending brushes, soft brushes for pigments and for brushing out effects. I've got some wisp brushes there. They're fantastic for doing streaking, and I've got some really nice flats there for doing other sort of blending and so forth. And in this tray I've got a variety of stuff. We've got some, I've never used this stuff, I should start using it. The Brush Restorer, it's supposed to be really good. Little palette knife. I've got Molotov Chrome. I've got different sort of pencils effects and so forth. I sometimes use this one. This is a little funky tool for, looks like a fountain pen. It's actually used for doing panel line washes. So yes, I've got some Prismacolor pens in there. I've got some of these alcohol-based things that are good for doing exhaust effects, which I can't get out, but I'll explain later, or not at all. But there it is. So that's the top drawer, and that's what I use almost all the time for painting. Let's move on to the other drawers. So the toxic drawer, as I call it. Yes, this is all the nasty stuff. So first we have in the corner here the not very used often oil brushes. They're okay, I don't mind them. They're a little bit gluggy out of the tube. They do a good job, I guess, but I prefer to apply them with a smaller brush, hence why I've got these cheap disposable brushes in that tray. I've got the Winsor & Newton oils here, which are student grade, so Winton grade. That's all the oil you ever need in a lifetime. I use the highest grade ones for my art painting, which I've only just started to do. And then I've got the 502 Abeltung, which is more out of the tube, sort of appropriate colours for what we do for military stuff. And then back there I've got some, you can probably just see out of shot. I've still kept them, I don't use them at all really. The old enamel, AK MIG style washes and effects and so forth. I find that I can do most of the stuff I need with the oils. So they just stay out of the way. I do have a few special brews here that I use, or is it down here? Actually no, it's down here, they're empty bottles. So this is a Rainmarks one. I got that idea from Uncle Night Shift, so that's, you can see it's very frothy. That's an acrylic, Tamiya acrylic with water and detergent to make rainmark effects. But here are the panel line washes I really prefer, which is the the MIG, different colours and a few filters with the different colours for aircraft. You can see some of the different colours there: blue, black, dark red, brown, deep brown, medium tan, and so forth. And then also have the row of Tamiya enamels. And that's all the way along. Now, someone pointed to me, they said, oh, these four you got here resting on the side, Chris, they're going to leak out eventually. I said, probably they will. I do have some empty, maybe these are what these are. Yeah, that's it, it's empty. I've got some empty Tamiya extra thin jars, which is identical to these ones. And I'll probably put them in there and then just relabel them, so I've just got a full lineup of them. This is my preferred odorless paint thinner, the Mona Lisa, artist grade stuff, really good. Yep, highly recommended. And then all the Gunze Mr. Surfacer variety. So in screen, Chris, 1500, and it goes down. 1500 white, that can be handy sometimes. 1500 black. What's that one? And now we get into the 500s and more 1500. So it's all a bit out of whack. Okay, sorry about that, but yeah. So it's all there. Some Mr. Primus Surfacer. That's really good for metal bits. And then I've got to try this mahogany, because I'm starting to really like to use a brown base. I use that for my MiG-31, that was really handy. So anyway, the toxic drawer, got to be careful with that one. Let's close it up and move on to acrylics. Well, apart from, I've got some Unicorn Tears here, I've got the Rapid Thinner, haven't used that yet, and then the normal MLT, Mr. Color Leveling Thinner. The 400 just means it's a 400ml bottle. Got that. I've got the X20A, which I really like to use for chipping, with a spare bottle there, and don't know why it's in this tray, but anyway, AK matte varnish. Not a bad varnish, good utility matte varnish. Now, acrylics, what do I use? Well, I use a little bit of Vallejo. I've got a few different concoctions here. I've explained this before. I like their acrylic washes and inks, and I like to use it on Bandai products so they don't react, okay? But I do have a few just off screen there in the back there. I do have a few other Vallejo I use for hand painting, for figure painting, but I want to try out that new palette, that wet palette, and I don't know where it is, it's disappeared. Anyway, my preferred is Life Color. I like Life Color, they just seem to work for me in the environment that I'm in. You can spray them, but they're best just doing by brush. And even though technically they're phasing in the wrong way, I need to put these the other way around. Bit of a stuff up the way I've organised, how I thought I'd organise the hobby room. It's better this way because I can actually tell by the colour on the top, because I just do them by colour. So these are all the blacks, you've got all the rust tones, all the browns, the multicolours and so forth. So really, really handy for doing cockpits and other sort of details. So let's move on. Well, I've still got my voice, and I'll just spin around here. Excuse the chair noises. So this is my drawer of ancillary stuff. So I've got a shed load of pigments, excuse my French. Okay, so I've got lots of pigments, different types, MIG, Ammo, Vallejo, they're all good. And then I've got my flats and clears. So Tester's dull coat, fantastic final clear coat. I've got the Tamiya XF86, is not too bad. My utility gloss that I use, that everybody should just dump their future for and use this instead, is the Tamiya X22. Thin that with Mr. Leveling Thinner, it's fantastic. But then we've got the Gucci best of the best, the Gunze flats and smooth clears. They're absolutely fantastic for final ones. And I'm yet to use the SMS, but I'm going to give that a go next. And then I've got the Vallejo metal colours, which I mainly just use for when you need to do small little bits by hand brush. And then we've got the AK Extreme Metal, which I'm finding to be actually pretty good, pretty good to use, alongside some of the Mr. Hobby or Mr. Colour, Mr. Metal Colour Chrome Silver. That's absolutely fantastic for brushing and even for airbrushing as well. Buffs up nicely, and then some of the gloss lacquers from them as well. The GX2 for a black, this one, to do before your natural metal finish. Mwah, chef's kiss, lovely. The old school Alclads, I still have a place, I still keep them. I can't remember the last time I used them though, so I don't know. And then my Stynylrez stash. They all come in different colours, and yes, this is Stynylrez. It's a clear matte, but MIG rebranded it. I use the red brown quite often. I use that for priming to do like a rust base. Flesh, haven't really used it much. I might use it to do brown basing. Black, green I haven't used really. Yellow I haven't used, just bought it. And then the white is a bit fiddly. I don't like that one at all. So yeah, mostly it's just black and grey. Okay, the fun drawer. Oh, upside down, Miss Jane. Let's turn around. So I did actually move this around. Okay, so that's my MRP and SMS stash. These are my favourite airbrush paints. They're pre-thinned. You can thin them even further if you want to, but these are absolutely fantastic. And yeah, they're my go-to paints for doing anything. And I'll slowly replace my Tamiya stuff as required, unless I buy their lacquer paints with this stuff. Okay. Which, speaking about Tamiya, last drawer, and we're back around this way because again I identify that by the colour on the top of the bottles, is the old school Tamiya hybrid acrylics. Why they're hybrid? Well, go watch my paint video to explain why they are. I've got a few of their lacquer paints down there, the LPs, which I've started to use. The white and black's really lovely. They work well, but these are still pretty good. You have to do a fair bit of mixing to get the right colours, and that puts people off. That's fair enough. But yeah, I'm slowly going through them. I won't replace them. I'll replace them with MRP or SMS because I can get SMS here very, very easily. So yeah, so there we have it. I'll move on to some other stuff. So here in my paint booth, I've got my 4 main airbrushes, and I must admit I use these 2 Harder and Steenbeck ones the most often. I've got the Evolution here, which I use to mainly do, actually for priming Stynylrez. It's a good one, even though it's a small needle. I think it's 0.2 or 0.3. Very easy to clean, very easy to strip down and get moving again, which is handy for Stynylrez because it's quite a nasty sort of thing to clean up if you're not too careful. And in fact, I think there's still some in there from the last priming session, which I need to clean up. And then for most of my detail work, I use the Infinity, the CR, which is pretty good. It's not the best airbrush out there, but it's, you know, and this one's quite dirty. Again, I'll use that for painting my Corsairs. But I think I'll move on to the PS770, the GSI one. It's, it's got a Mac valve there at the front, gravity fed, lovely nozzle on it, and I'm going to use that more often. And then for a utility one, for bigger stuff, I use this sometimes, not all the time, because it's a bit of a bitch to clean, and that's the PS290, which has got a massive nozzle on it. Perfect for doing Stynylrez, but because of Stynylrez, it's so hard to clean unless you flush the guts out of it with lacquer thinner, which I'm reluctant to do unless I have a paint booth going. And I'll just see if this is working. There you go. That's pulling it out, and it's got a dinky little light. So over here, I keep them on a you can see I keep them on some cradles here, and the only ones I keep out some IPA in a bottle, and then some lacquer thinner, and just some Mr. Unicorn tears. Seen that in other videos, I'll make sure I got it. Yeah, so that's basically my setup. I've got an old no-name brand Chinese compressor down there that works fine, needs draining. I drain it the first of the month every month and it's still going well. I don't get that much moisture in it even though I live in a very humid environment. So it's going well. So far I'm pretty happy with this setup. Like I said, it vents out the side there. I would have preferred if the range hood was better protected for solvents, but the amount that I do and the fact that it goes straight out, I shouldn't have that much of a drama. I'm going to change those filters, the steel filters on there, to some foam filters that you can get for other airbrush setups, so that should do a better job for collecting all the paint. So yeah, there we have it. Would you like to have a look at my cabinets next? Let's go over there. Would you like to have a look at some of the models I have in my display cabinet? So these ones are, I've got two of these display cabinets, 800mm wide. They're a good utility. One from Freedom Furniture. Unfortunately, they've got this nasty gap in the back because they don't have a full piece of glass at the back, so I need to come up with some sort of sealant for that. And also the fronts don't close completely properly, but they're better than the IKEA Dettolf ones, which I used to have, although you can seal them up too. Alright, so I'll just go through what I've still got in here. I recently, like a few days ago, just before Christmas, I threw out about, I don't know, 15, 20 models that I had down in here. You can see some big gaps on this one and some rearranging. I usually give them to my son. He's 8, he likes to play with them, and he's already made a tank game with most of the tanks that I've thrown out. But let's have a look. Let's catch my breath first. This is Revell's Zvezda's 1/2700 scale Star Destroyer, which I've slightly modified. That's the Errant Venture. It's actually a privately owned Star Destroyer that's been converted into a space-going casino. And yeah, I had a lot of fun building that, adding lots of little bits and things. There's, you know, all different types of stuff on there. If you want me to explain that a bit more, I've built there's a hanger in there as well. It's all lit up. I can turn it on. It's got lights. It's got about 500 feet of fibre optics and stuff in there. So that was a fun little build. I wanted to do something different. And it's canon, it's real, it's actually in Star Wars. We won't talk about the sequels though. Okay, moving on. This is one of my completions. That's the Bandai AT-AT with a Bandai Snowspeeder in 1/44 scale. And that's a Battle of Sullust build. So I did a bit of object source lighting there. Came off okay, I guess. When the lights are on, it actually works really nicely. You can see the lava down there. I'll have to turn the lights on. That was a fun build. That was a 2-year plus hiatus. I had that just stuck in a cabinet without any paint on it. And this was fun. I tried to make this a sort of Ahsoka Tano speeder bike, one that she would sort of have, and just kit bashed it from various different parts and pieces. There's a lot of landing gear parts in there. A lot of people make fun of the fact that I don't build wheels down. So what do you do with all the landing gear parts? Well, I chuck them on sci-fi stuff, don't I? Actually, they're all in that box over there. Okay, down here I've got my ships. I've got the Enterprise. I've actually started that, and eventually one day I'll finish it. I've got the Hobby Boss Danton. It's a fun little ship there. There it is up there that I've just started. Pre-Dreadnought, and all the parts are in that box below. And then I've got my 1/44 scale Revell Type 7, I think, U-boat. Yep. Which I really love. It's a very popular video, that, for some reason. The weathering and the painting, I explain how it works. Everyone really has enjoyed that. It's one of my most popular videos, going on now for a couple of years. Over here is my longest work in progress. I started that, I think, in 2015, maybe 2014. That's Hobby Boss's 1/16 scale Tiger 1 that I've heavily modified. I'll just take his paint mule off into an early, so you can see that I've almost finished the turret. It's got a metal barrel. I've still got a lot of work to do down below. One day, and so that's just a Tamiya 1/48 scale Tiger 1 that I've built up very quickly. Done some texturing with putty to make a paint mule. So I know how to paint that one. Down here is my weird and wonderful shelf. We've got some more Star Wars stuff, the 1/48 scale Bandai, and I've just recently bought another one of those, so I'm going to do a trench run diorama. I've got a Russian or Soviet A-wing. I was sick and tired of seeing the Nazi stuff done up, so I thought, oh, let's do a Soviet one. And then back there is a Gundam thingy, which I've assembled, but I haven't painted or anything, and I can't remember what that's called, Zazabi or something. I'll do something with that one though. This was one of my Christian Pierce from Weta Workshop. He drew that and I built it. and it's a kit bash of various different things. And back there, well, we won't talk about that right now. Some of my tanks and things. That's my favourite tank, is the Argentinian AML 90. One gold for that one, gold armour. And so I'm happy with that. I don't need to do any more armour for competitions. I think I scratch built the interior, did all the effects on the outside. Really love that job. Nice little Porsche tractor, and then my Mark 1 tank in there, which I've got on this base. It's not correct, obviously. I've just assembled that base. It's a German transporter. I'll put something on it eventually. Alright, let's move to the other cabinet where all my fly stuff is. And up top, first I got the MiG-31, which I finished this year. That's a flight pose stand, by the way. People keep asking me what that is. Okay. And this is Tamiya's F14A, which I modified very, very slightly. Just needed a new TCS thingy and a few other things. That, of course, is one of the politically incorrect VX4 jobbies, which I really like. And that's Academy's 1/35 scale Viper, which I haven't finished, obviously. So it's on its plinth, it's in flight, it's ready to go. Just needs it to be, the canopy needs to go on. You can tell that I've added quite a lot of detail to that cockpit there. Sorry if the lighting's not too good. Yeah, I was thinking about, I might do a video on that. I'm almost there with that one. Just need to do a little bit extra work and then it's ready to go. Does that sound familiar? Okay. Some of these are quite dusty, these ones. These are very old. That Mustang, Tamiya 132, my first 132 aircraft. That was a lot of fun. And then, oh, you need to clean. Look at all the dust and mould on that thing. So that's Tamiya's Mark 8 Spitfire. Natural metal finish. Really, that's my favourite kit that I've done so far. What's that one? Can't remember. 132 scale I-16 from ICM, I think. And my only wingnut wings kit that I put together, that's the Albatross. That was really fun. Very interesting. First time I did rigging. And my first bust. That's the Dunkirk pilot. That's, what's his name? Yeah, it's okay. I could do better on that. But, you know, first time I did it, just did it with acrylics and oils. I might try a bust again another day. Then a 148 scale Menagerie. That's my old Corsair from about 5 or 6 years ago. The Tucano I did last year. Porco flying along there. My Heinkel 162. And my only wheels down jobby Tamiya P47. There you go, Damien. He loves his P47s. That was a fun one. That's all painted. There's no decals on that. That was real lots of fun. And then last shelf, F14 Heaven. So these are all my 172 F14s that I want to do as a group build. And I actually just bought another bloody Academy F14. I don't know why. I haven't finished those. I've started to assemble them. So now I've got 3. Huzzah! Have you grabbed a cup of coffee yet or go for a little tinkle? I'm really dragging this on, aren't I? Apologies, but I don't know, you've got to be thorough. Got to have a look at what I've got. Alright, so this is my, I call it the Holy Grail shelf, even though, well, there's still about 5 or 6 ones that I'm dying to do. There's a few other ones that I'm like, yeah, I really want to finish this or start it or whatever. There's a Tamiya Corsair up there. The only reason it's up there is because I can't fit it in the shelf, in the cupboard, because I've got other ones. But that's Tamiya's Lancaster, which I decided to start after seeing some sort of varied ideas on what happened with the B17 from HKM, which I have started, and there it is there. I've done complete interior for that. I was planning on finishing it this year, but just lost the mojo on it. It's a bit of a soul sucker, that kit. It's a good kit, but it's not a perfect kit. It's yeah, you've got to go in with both eyes open on that one. Okay. MV22, I did a review on that, and I'm really dying to finish that one, the Hobby Boss one. It's a great kit. It's, yeah, I don't know what it is. It's sort of a different mentality. I mean, Hobby Boss don't make the most brilliant kits in the world, or Trumpeter, their sister company. They make competent, good kits. Sometimes engineering's a bit weird, sometimes the fit's a bit weird, sometimes the detail's a bit weird. They're not Tamiya, they're not Bandai, they're not Wingnut Wings, but, you know, they're enjoyable kits. And for some reason, this one, I think, this, the way you approach the MV22 is just a different sort of mojo to the B17. I can't put my finger on it, but there it is. Alright, let's zoom out, work over here. And the one that stands out is the Enterprise. Now this is an old legacy kit. I could talk for hours about this kit. This isn't my dad, who, you know, died, I don't know, 20 years ago now, but he had one of these when he was doing modelling, and, you know, like a lot of other people, I'm sure you've got one in the cupboard and it's just in that state, as you see it there, unfinished. I mean, it's a big bastard of a kit. It's 1 metre and 5 millimetres long, as it says on the side there. You know, it's a beast of a kit, and it's not a very good kit. It's, you know, it's an old Tamiya. We're talking early 80s Tamiya. before they really, you know, decided to put all their engineering nous together. And their later ships still aren't the best. Actually, Trumpeter make better kits than Tamiya for ships. So, and Hasegawa again are better again. But I will do that one. I do love the idea of the Enterprise. I actually have the Merit CV6 Enterprise to do as well, the same scale. And I think together will be a fantastic sort of finishing point, or a Holy Grail kit. And that box up there has got all the aircraft and extras for it, and there's stuff in that box. I can't remember what's in that one. There's a couple of Millennium Falcons in that Italian box, and I can't remember what's beneath the other one. There's 2 Star Destroyers in that one. Someone just recently did the diorama I'm planning to do with those 2, and I think he did an okay job. I don't think it was the best execution. It was a good idea, but there was lots of details missing, lots of facts missing in that one. I need to learn better LED. Oh, that's shaking like buggery, isn't it, that camera? Sorry. I need to learn better LEDs before I tackle that subject. So it's up there haunting me. Again, talking about old school Tamiya. That's the old Tamiya 132 F14. Not a very good kit. I'm in the middle. I've rescribed the bottom and I've re-riveted the bottom of the fuselage, and I'm starting on the top. It's a long drawn out process. And then the 2 beautiful kits here. We've got Wingnut Wings Felixstowe. I'm desperate to build that off. I jokingly have said, oh, I'm going to do that in 2022, and guess what? It's bloody 2022 in 2 days time. There's no way I'll be able to start that in 2 days time. I've got so much on the bench there to get rid of. Yeah. And then the 172 scale Millennium Falcon, which is going to be joined by the 172 scale Razor Crest in a few days. I've got my shipping order. It should be coming pretty soon. And then you're probably asking, what's that big blue bastard of a box underneath? Bonus points if you know what that is. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but there's a clue to the length. There's the Enterprise box on top of it. That's another Holy Grail kit. And yes, that box is full of stuff I've collected over the years. Let's have a very quick look at the stash cabinet, which I've opened the doors for the first time in months. No, just joking. Look, it's a good stash. It's pretty big. I've got scale mates. I'll put the link on below if you want to see what's really in there. And apart from collectors, and I do collect kits, I do have a few in there that I have no intention of building. I've collected them because they're such interesting things. You don't really get bonus points for having a great stash. It means that you're just spending, you know, that's just money just sitting there, isn't there? You know, 100 plus kits in there or more. And there's the big stuff is all hidden up there. You can see a couple of 132 scale Tomcats in the corners there. And you know, there's a Tamiya shelf. Each one of those kits is a lot of money. And there's more hiding beneath there. And I said that Corsair up the corner. So, you know, you don't get points for having a fantastic stash. Although you do get points for having a tasteful one. And I think I've collected and put together a quite interesting stash of kits of different types. I'll give you a quick rundown of what I've got and categorized. It's turning into a bit of a Tetris battle in there, as you can see. I mean, the lower shelf there, I've got various 116 armor, but it's all small stuff. So like the Panzer 38, the Luche, you know, the breeder tank. I've got a 1/9 cannon crowd, which is a pain in the ass kit. This shelf is my 135th armor. I don't have that much armor left actually. I've sold most of it. I've just got a few subjects there that I'd like to do. And yeah, we've got this one is a new one, the 144 scale flying chronoplane. That's going to be an interesting one. This shelf in here is my Weird and Wonderfuls. Not quite sci-fi and not quite, I like to do some different stuff, so yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. Hidden in this shelf, I'll just pull this kit away, you can see these are some more ships that I've got. So I've got a Mikasa, there's the Enterprise, I've got the America yacht, which is a collectible, but I do really want to build that, even though it's a very old kit. And I've even got some 1700 scale stuff. Over here is my real passion is the aircraft. So all this is aircraft. 132 scale single seat jobbies. Okay, that's another Wingnut Wings kit. I'm dying to do that since I've seen Harry's build. Zeros, P51s, blah blah blah. These are equally. I could consider these the same 148 scale jets. I mean, they're big kits. Another F-22 to get started, the Prowler, which is a bit of a dodgy kit, and then some of the superlative stuff from Tamiya there, obviously. I'm going to skip the next shelf because there's some real big bastards in there. And then down here are my 148 stuff. So you could call it practice, you could call it fun, you could call it whatever you want to do. You know, there's more than one hobby. But yeah, I've got quite a few things in there, and I've actually started about half of those. So the idea is you do them over a weekend, but it never seems to pan out that way. Anyway, I'm waffling. Let's go back up just a quick look. So up here I've got all my big 132 huge jobbies, or even 124 scale. I've got Hurricanes, I've got Tomcats. Oh, I've got too many. Even after doing a massive cull, I've got too many. But they all, thank God, all now fit with the doors shut like that. So yeah, I think I'll leave it as that. I might do a little outro here and call it a day.